Fixing my hair even though it is windy. It's gonna blow it everywhere. Alright, so hi everybody. Your favorite fabulous fairy Shaenna here. I want to talk to you about the pineal gland. Everybody's like, what is it? Why is it? Why should we care? Why should we care what's in our toothpaste? Why should we care what's in our water? Why should we worry about this little piece of our brain? Why do the Egyptians have it drawn all over the place? How come in the middle of cities like Las Vegas you'll find pine cones literally carved everywhere? Why do anybody care about a pine cone? What is this? Okay, so I drew you all a picture. It's super windy, so excuse me. But basically this is the human brain. The pineal gland's actually reddish gray. I should have drawn it reddish gray, but I did it blue because of what it represents. So it represents basically your third eye. There it is. So right there's your pituitary gland. Let's see. There's your cerebellum. There is the pons, your medulla oblongata, the spinal cord, and right up here is your regular brain tissue. Or you know, the gray tissue, whatever. And then right there, that little blue dot is our pineal gland. So what is it? Why do we care? Well, it is responsible for secreting melatonin. And melatonin is what gives us our good sleep. So this little tiny thing, and it's centered right in the middle of your brain, like right in the dead center of the center, secretes melatonin. That gives us our good sleep. Well, when we're sleeping, sometimes we can dream, right? We can do our astral traveling then, but what do we really do when we sleep? We heal, we recharge, we reset our body for the next day. We fight disease, all that kind of good stuff. If we're not getting good sleep, our body has a harder time healing. It has a harder time dealing with the next day's challenges. We're for sure not dreaming if we're not getting good sleep. And all these things can affect our lives in different ways. So, ancient people used to say that it's the seat of the soul, the pineal gland. They think that your soul is literally, that's where it resides, is right in the dead center of your brain. When I was young, before I knew anything about anything, like this kind of stuff, for real knew about it, when I'd go to sleep at night, I'd do two things. I'd, in my mind, watch the opening scene to Beauty and the Beast in my head. And then after that, I would start to see the stars go across my eyes, like the little white dots of light, and I would follow them. And then I would start to feel like I could feel myself walking around a giant room, and that room was within my head. And it was almost like I could feel my sense of self, and I could feel that myself was actually a very small self within whatever all this is. Now, that was just me as a child coming up with some crazy thing, oh, what I felt, what, you know, all this and that. But after doing your research on the pineal gland, you start to think about it, and you're like, wait a second. Even ancient philosophers said that's where the soul sits. So maybe there's a little bit more to this. So pineal comes from the Latin pinea, which means pine cone. And it was first used in the 17th century to refer to the cone-shaped part of the brain gland. So that's what when they would do their little autopsy or whatever they were doing, they found this little thing in your brain. They're like, oh, what is this? Okay, so it's behind the third ventride of the brain, and it secretes a hormone substance. It does not secrete this in all mammals, so there are some things that do not have a pineal gland, but most mammals have a pineal gland, and they're not sure why the things that don't, but I think like a duck-billed platypus is one that doesn't, but it has a different gland that kind of mimics the same thing. So, I mean, there you go, right? It regulates some hormones, including melatonin, and that, like I said, that takes care of our sleep patterns. Now, what can we do? What do we want to do with this thing? Why should we worry about it becoming calcified over, which is basically why I'm talking about this. So pineal calcification happens, and then they don't know 100%, but they are starting to link calcification to Alzheimer's disease, to dementia, I think Lewy body syndrome, and I forget what all. And there's like, okay, people who, when they do a brain scan or an autopsy, which you can see in a brain scan if it's calcified over, because it starts to look more like a bone piece instead of just like the tissue matter, right? So they're starting to link those two things together, that hey, these people might be having these problems because they're not getting enough melatonin, because their pineal gland is calcifying over. So we don't want that. Now, can it be removed, like once it's calcified over, are you just screwed? They used to think yes. They used to think that yes, if your brain has started to calcify over, there's no going back from that point. It's kind of like you've done your damage. Now you got to sleep in the bed you made, right? But now they're saying that it can be undone. It depends on what you're eating. So one thing that they've definitely done studies on, you can please do your own research. Don't ever just take what I say or what anybody says as, the gospel, and that's the only thing you go off. Always do your own research. But they've done many researches that say that fluoride actually speeds the process of calcifying your brain over. Certain things like soda, high sugars, eating different things together can also help to calcify over the pineal gland. So they put fluoride in our water already, whether we want it or not. Now, you might need fluoride for your teeth, but they're already putting it in our water. You don't know how much fluoride you're getting in your water every day, depending on how much water you drink. So that's something you can't really control. So are you going to freak out about that and start going, oh my God, my water, fluoride? No, don't. But something you can control would be, don't use a fluoride toothpaste. Because you already are getting so much fluoride. If you want to help yourself, don't use a fluoride toothpaste, because that's going to be adding more fluoride into your life that you don't necessarily need. I used Tom's. It's fluoride free, and I think they started making a with fluoride version, but I just go with good old-fashioned Tom's, fluoride free. I'm not going to be adding anything else into that. Again, don't use like a fluoride mouthwash, different things like that. Don't eat fluoride tabs. I know that used to be a thing back in the day. People would give their kids fluoride tabs. So if you're worried about your brain calcifying over, or you're somebody who has a really hard time sleeping and you're doing a lot of tossing and turning, I would say maybe back off the things that have fluoride in it. Okay, so what are things that can help to decalcify our pineal gland? One thing is to eat superfoods, okay? So anything that has a lot of chlorophyll in it is actually going to help to remove that calcification. Things that are really high in antioxidants, and you're going to want to go for things that are super green. So whatever is super, the most dark green you can get, so things like kale, spinach, wheat germ, or wheatgrass, not wheat germ, pardon me, apple cider vinegar would be really good to help remove all of that. Let's see. You can get supplements to help remove the calcification. They are going to have things like probably the wheatgrass in it, oregano, spinach, minzu, things like that. So just look into those things on your own and start adding them into your diet, and that's going to definitely help you. If you're somebody who, okay, you've been having sleep trouble for so long and you're like, okay, for sure I've got calcification, for sure that's what's going on, you can take supplements that have the melatonin in them, but they suggest you only take them for like 2 months at a time, because it will actually, your brain will stop creating its own altogether if it's being fed it. So you don't want to take a bunch of supplements for a long time, because then, you're not really helping yourself at the end. You can do a little bit to help boost yourself to get back into the, let's create some melatonin, but you don't want to be, really taking that long term. You're better off eating a healthy diet and getting it that way. And melatonin can be found in some plants in nature also. All right, so if you are an empath at all, and you're trying to expand your visual horizon, and you're trying to help yourself spiritually grow and see into the future, or see into your own future, or help clients, or connect to the higher power, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, this is going to affect that. If you're sitting there and chugging down, tons of Coca-Cola every day, or whatever your soda choice is, and you're eating a lot of junk food, and you're brushing your teeth with fluoride-filled toothpaste, and you're rinsing your mouth out with fluoride, and you're doing all these different things, it's going to limit your ability. Now remember, they're saying that is the throne of the soul. That's where your soul sits, is in that little pineal gland, right? Pineal gland. If that's true, calcifying that over, do you think that's going to connect yourself to the higher power more, or you think that's creating a barrier for you? And you're like, well, why do I keep missing the signs? How come I'm not, excelling as much as I should be? Or how come my twin flames blocked off for me, or how come I keep having these ego-driven tangents and I can't seem to wrap my mind around, you know, being happy with myself how it is, or whatever your problem is, it could definitely be because of calcification. I was realizing after a while that my sleep was getting disturbed and that I was becoming depressed because of it. If you are somebody who's used to having really good sleep and really good dreams, and you get to fly around and do whatever you want, there is something really depressing in not having dreams anymore. And so I looked into my diet and I started eating things that were just a little bit more healthy, a little bit more nutritious, drinking some superfood. If you can make your own and blend up your own, that's definitely best. But I mean, if you can't, just go buy some. You know, spend yourself the money that you were going to spend on 2 bottles of soda on 1 bottle of superfood and make that healthy change. And that one change is going to help, you know, bring you kind of out of it. Okay, so caffeine consumption can slow melatonin in general. So again, if you're having a lot of, you know, I don't sleep very well and blah, 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 and you're like thinking, oh, it's because you drink caffeine before bed, and you're like, oh, well, I'll just stop drinking soda before bed. Okay, well, that didn't help because I drink caffeine all throughout the day. How come I cannot sleep at night? It could just be you're drinking so much caffeine, it's basically halted that production of that. So back off on the caffeine, you know, replace it with some water, drink some herbal tea at night instead of caffeinated tea, and maybe you'll turn it around. So I was thinking of some things that you could do to help strengthen this beyond just eating. And you can definitely use your stones and crystals for this. So I drew yourselves another little picture. Oh, of course, it always gets super windy right when I pick up a picture. So this lady, or her androgynous person, has crystals all around her. She has an amethyst on her forehead, 1 on each side, 1 underneath the back of her head or neck. That's why I have it shown right here, and 1 up here at her crown. I would say at least 30 minutes of sitting with your stones. Now, you're not just throwing a stone on your head and hoping for something to happen. Pick them up, say thank you for awakening my pineal gland, for connecting to my higher self and my higher power, and then place them. Put 1 underneath your neck, have them 1 on your side, 1 on your forehead, and 1 at your crown, and sit there. And picture it just becoming brighter and brighter and glowing and connecting yourself to your higher power. You will start to feel a tingly sensation if you're doing it right. I would highly suggest putting on some tranquil music, like, you know, either some spa sounds or some rain or something like that. And, you know, some people are like, oh, this is so cliche. How can people listen to that spa type music? Because it doesn't have words. When you're sitting there and you're listening to, okay, my favorite music's Tool. But Tool has its own agenda within the song itself. It has its own words it likes to sing. I also love rap. I also love Lil Wayne. I also love, you know, there's a lot of different kinds of music I like, but they all have their own agenda. They have words that carry vibrations that are going to basically be controlling where your mind goes with this and what your energy level does when you're sitting there in a meditative state. So whenever I'm working magic or doing anything meditative, you know, sometimes I'll want to listen to a creepypasta while I'm doing something, but I'm like, nope, I can't do that right now because I'm focusing on making soap or whatever, and I don't want that energy in there. So I'll put on rain sounds because it's tranquil. There's no agenda behind it. My mind is free to take in the positive vibes of it and direct my thoughts exactly how I want them to. So if you're laying there and you're listening to your favorite music, and, you know, I'm listening to Pantera as I sit here. Okay, I love Pantera too. But it's going to have its own directive. It's going to have its own, you know, target that it's going for. That the music itself has its own vibration. So just be kind of aware of why people listen to, like, the bird calls or the whale songs or the rain sounds or the crackling fire or the, you know, pan flute or whatever it is that they're listening to, and you're like trying to, you know, make fun of it. There's reasons behind it, definitely, and it will help you. So if you're sitting there and you're like, look, I'm stuck, I don't know how to cross this path, I don't know how to get my mind into that state of being, give it a shot. Try some of those sounds. It will help you kind of put enough white noise out to where your brain can relax enough that it can focus on making that connection and opening yourself up. So other stones that can help awaken your pineal gland are going to be kyanite, labradorite, pneumite, and of course quartz. Now, everybody's like, quartz, quartz, quartz. Quartz and me, we're okay, but there are more powerful stones out there. If anything, I like quartz to amplify stones I'm using already. So I could use a quartz maybe above the amethyst I have, and that's going to help amplify the amethyst, right? Or use the kyanite and then, whatever. I like to use it as an amplifier though, basically. And that's what they use it for in our watches and everything else anyways, is for amplification, right? And connection, conductivity. So let's just use it. We're energy. Let's use it how it's supposed to be used. Okay. Herbs that you can burn and actually drink, depending on if you're allergic or not, to help open that third eye and that pineal gland, to help remove the calcification, to help open yourself up to the higher power so that you can have better sleep, so that you can have better premonitions, and you can have fuller dreams, right? Would be rosemary, lavender, and mugwort. Now you can burn these things, given that you're not allergic to any of them, and smell them. Now I'm not talking about like huffing them, but just like having them in the air. That will help put your mind in that state where it can make that connection better. You can make a sachet out of this, which I have dream pillows, and I sell my dream pillows for I think $6 for a little dream pillow, and it's full of polyfill and the herbs and the oils made for each intention. I have one called Third Eye. I've got a third eye for everything, right? I've got the soap, I've got the oil, I've got whatever. But it's true, because that's one of my most important things I do, is opening my own third eye, right? Rosemary, lavender, mugwort. If you have that little sachet at night, you squish it, smell it, put it under your pillow, put it under your head, and you're laying there and you're going to sleep with the intention of, thank you for clearing my pineal gland, helping me connect to my higher self, helping to restore my levels of melatonin, helping me to, just get back to a good state of being, and it will definitely help you. And then again, if you're not allergic to any of these things, you can also brew all these into tea and drink that. Now I will have this caution: mugwort, if you're a woman and you drink or smoke mugwort, it will make your period happen quickly and ferociously. So they totally did used to use it as a contraceptive after the fact, basically homemade abortion back in the fact. So if you are in, on, or around your period, it's going to intensify that, and I mean, it'll help open everything else up too, but just be aware that even smoking it can help bring on your period. So just be aware of that. Now, I've never had a problem with that if it was just like an incense, but if I was actually smoking it, like to open my third eye that way, then I have had problems that way. Let me take a second. Hello, everybody. Thank you for everybody who's on now and everybody who's come through. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Can't survive without you. If you have not checked out my YouTube, please check out my YouTube, The Fairy Shaenna. Check out my Instagram, Shaenna Dixon, or at Dixon Shaenna. And yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, another thing to do would be to make a face steamer before bed. So what I mean by that is you would get a pot of water, have boiling water in it, throw your herbs or oils in it, and then put a towel over your head and put your face over the steam and breathe it in. And I would give yourself anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, maybe even a half hour underneath that towel, and then go to bed. And that's going to not only give you a really great facial, but open you up to having some really wicked and prophetic dreams, helping to open up your pineal gland as well. You can take that same 3 things and boil it in some distilled water and put it in a spray bottle with just like a little tiny drip of alcohol, and shake it up and spray your pillow with it. Now, if you can only smell alcohol, then you don't have enough of everything else in there. So I would boil it in distilled water, and then let it cool completely with the lid on. Okay, so you're boiling it with the lid on. Let it cool completely. Strain the herbs out, and then add just like a little drip of alcohol. And I would do it in small batches no matter what, because you don't want it to have to keep forever. And then if you're still kind of worried about it, keep it in the fridge. But it should last for at least a month or 2. And I would spray your little pillow down every night before you go to bed with that. So oils, tea, tranquil music. Why are we doing these things? Basically, you're not trying to force this to happen. You want it to happen a natural, kind of smooth progression to where you're awakening yourself not all at once, because it's like in the morning, if you went from being in a cave to going out in the bright day sun, it would hurt, right? You can't see shit because you're just blinded by the light and it's just too much at once. But if we're easing into this and you're already at a state where you're kind of in calcification, but you're trying to awaken yourself and you're like, why am I not progressing beyond this? This is something that naturally happens to all of us as we get older. And if we don't take, you know, our body like it's a car and take it in for its oil change and get it tuned up every now and then and feed it the right things, eventually parts of it break down, parts of it get rusty, parts of it stop working as well. You know, your oil gets kind of sluggy. So take care of yourself. And the last thing I would say to help open your pineal gland, and I definitely do not condone the use of any kind of drug whatsoever. As a shaman mystic myself, there is a very religious quality to medicinal mushroom use. And I do not condone it. I don't know where to get it. You're on your own for all that. And don't eat it. Blah, blah, blah. Survival of the fittest. It's on you if you do it. But me personally, I have found that it awakens you in a way that you can't really grasp any other way. And when I say awaken, I don't mean like, you know, oh, my life is going to be like this or that, but you know everything's going to be okay because you realize I'm connected to the earth, I'm connected to the plants, I'm connected to you, we're all one person. This is not the end, this isn't the beginning, this is somewhere in the middle, and it's not going to stop here and it hasn't begun here. It's just going to continue to go on forever and ever. And there's something kind of comforting in that because you don't have to worry so much about your significance in the world, because you realize that literally everything you do does matter because we all are one. So if you're looking for a more spiritual way to open yourself up, that definitely could be a way to do that. And there are definitely places you can go to in Peru and stuff like that where you can do things like there's a DMT clinic in Peru and Brazil, I believe, that you can go to that are legal to do it there, and you're under the watchful eye of shamans and all that kind of stuff. So if you've done the crystals, you've done the tea, you're, you know, eating the right kind of thing, and you feel like you're just trying to level up, that's when I'd say go there. Alrighty then. Hi, Priya. There's only 3 of you on here, but does anybody have any questions about anything I said or any of that? I told you guys I'd go on, and I did it. And so I'm proud of myself for that. I won't just go on for no reason. If I don't have something I'm passionate about that I know enough about that I want to actually talk to other people about it, I'm not going to say anything. So if I'm talking to about it, it's because I've tried it. Oh, hi Deanna. I was just about to get off. Please go back and watch though. I talk all about the pineal gland, what it's for, why you want to keep it active, how to decalcify it if you believe that you have become kind of fogged over. Does anybody have any questions or anything like that? Check out my Twin Flame Union Path 1111 page. Check out my Shaenna Jeanette, or Sacred Journey Jeanette page. Check out me on Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Alright, I love you guys. Bye. Why won't it go away?